If you're watching this video, you probably just bought the clickbait, and you're probably wondering how the hell do you play the Abrams? The Abrams is a great tank. There's many different versions, and they're all pretty much the same, and they're one of my favorite tanks to play. They're super fast, they've got decent armor, and they're all round a very tactical, high skill, and enjoyable tank. I aim to prepare you to actually play that clickbait and actually get some kills. The first thing we're going to cover is the armor. The Abrams is a bit iffy with its armor. Its turret is rather strong. As you can see, turret cheeks are super thick, about 600 to 700 millimeters of armor on most Abrams, this clickbait being our example. The turret mantlet is also pretty thick. It's you can see around 200, 300 here and there. It also has the chamber in there, which can absorb a round or two, and if they're going to shoot at any spot, they're going to try and shoot here or the turret neck. The turret neck is almost always single shot kill, and as you can see, that's basically took out everybody. The turret neck is the main weakness here. You're gonna get one shot through here, whereas through this chamber area you may get one shot, you may not. They may only take out one crew member. They'll take out your chamber and you'll have to repair, but if you play this correctly, which I will explain how you play it correctly, you don't have to worry about it. The other area that they will often shoot at is the hull. So essentially, you never want to show your neck, you never want to show your hull, and if you do show any of these, you want to make sure it's only for a split second and it's far away. You want to be a very hard target for your enemy to hit. The Abrams has enough speed to go driving around and shooting things to the side, but its armor is all focused in the front. All its armor is focused in the front, whereas things you're going up against like the T-80, the T-72, they have a bit more general armor. They're not as tall, they're not as big, they're not as large. They've got a rounded turret that in certain directions you can't really hit. They can go brawl, they can go run around, but the Abrams, it's a lot harder, because if anyone comes from any angle that's not directly forward, they can obliterate you. That's why it's best to play this like a light tank. I'll explain that later. But the other things to keep in mind is how far away you want to be. At a couple thousand meters away from your enemy, you can snipe, and the only way they're gonna kill you is through that neck. Now for my favorite part, tactics. What I might say for experienced players will seem quite conservative of play style, but this is for people who are struggling to understand the Abrams, struggling to get a good KD or any kills at all. So I will be suggesting a particularly stealthy, sniper-like play style, and keep in mind that this tank requires a lot of map knowledge to truly utilize. And my opinion is, if you know of a spot that's pretty good for your tank, you find a good spot for your Abrams that you maybe get a couple kills in, keep going to that spot. People suggest go check out all the different places all over the map, but really, if you stick with one spot, you can develop more basic principles of where things are and how to fight. If you know one part of the map like the back of your hand, you can at least get a couple kills on that part of the map, as opposed to knowing barely anything about every part of the map, you know? If you go to another part of the map, you will know your favorite part of the map. If you decide to switch it up, go somewhere else, you will know that area you are often at. But first, before we get into all that, let's talk cover. War Thunder Ground is effectively a stealth game. You are constantly trying to hide from the gaze of your enemy tanks and the gaze of planes. One of the things you may struggle with at top tier is a lot of the jets and the bombers and all that kind of stuff. The key is, one, you don't want to stay in a spot for too long. If you sit in a spot for way too long, out of the open or anywhere, you're probably going to get spotted, you're probably going to get bombed, and you kind of have a window of time before people start getting in their sukhois and dropping a million bombs down, and where you can actually go and get some kills. So you want to at least get some kills before inevitably you get bombed to oblivion. And if you don't want to get bombed and you want to make it as hard as possible, you need to use cover. You need to hug about any sort of object, cover, bushes, trees, rocks, buildings, all these things. The closer you are to these things, the more likely that anybody from above will just look over you, think you're a tractor, think you're a little shed, anything like that. And that's quite a tough thing for the Abrams to do. It's so big and it's quite an easy thing to spot. You might as well do it. You might as well challenge them a little. And this is the other thing. The key thing with cover is it cuts down on where you can be shot from and all the angles you can see. If you get something that, like say a giant apartment block between you and one area, all you have to do is focus on either end of the apartment block or just to your right, or say it's on your left to your right. You don't have to worry about that section of your view. This is how you use cover, slopes, everything is it cuts down on where you actually have to pay attention to. You don't want to poke out and have a ton of angles where people can shoot at you. You want to have as little area to worry about as possible. So you need to get some cover and you need to utilize it and understand it. I described earlier that the Abrams is best played when you're only showing your turret, meaning on every map you go on you want to find something like a rock, maybe like a pile of rubble, or most commonly a slope. If I'm playing the Abrams, if it's a map that's half city and the other half is forest, I'd choose the forest. I'd choose the slopey hills, choose somewhere like that. The key with slopes and hills is do not drive to the peak. If you think about it this way, think as if you want to walk up to the top of that slope. Which way would you go with the least amount of effort? It's the least steep hill. It's the least steep slope going up the hill. This is the best spot. Anytime you're in a tank, you really want to pick out the flattest area to shoot from and sit at. And the less steep it is, the more of you will be covered, the better it will be for moving around and not getting stuck. You don't want to be halfway up a steep slope where your commander's monster energy drink is rolling around on the floor, making noise and distracting your crew. The ideal situation, if you want a tactical ideal, is you've got an open field out in front of you. You have a nice gradual, very gradual slope that you can duck behind. You only have maybe less than a second time to go up and go down. You use your binoculars. Use your binoculars as much as possible, because binoculars give you a view slightly above, maybe a meter above your tank, and this will allow you to see over your cover, spot your enemy first before driving out, shooting them. This is basically the best way to play Abrams. And the problem with this kind of gameplay is if you don't pay attention to your map, you don't pay attention to what your team is doing, and they're doing well, you're going to be left behind and you're going to be waiting out there, waiting for enemies to appear, and your whole team will be kilometers in front of you and you won't get any kills. So you need to pay attention to what your team is doing and move up with them, or pay attention to what the enemy is doing and fall back to those strong positions when your team maybe sucks and is doing badly. Because some of the highest kill counts I've had is when I'm in a losing game and I decide to reverse back, find a good position, and my team gets rolled over, and these Russians come driving in like they own the place, and I just pop their little turrets off. Well guys, I guess that's it. If you have any suggestions for tanks I could play and I could make a tutorial for, please put them down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Thank you.